Good evening to those who are joining us on YouTube this evening. I was just saying that we're going to run through lots of the rest of this evening. In fact, some of the movements that we ran last week, I'm going to have a look over a few of the trickier moments, and so we'll concentrate on a few of those bars within each of those movements. But I'm hoping that we'll get through quite a lot, and we'll do, or at least we'll be singing a lot as we dive through the rutter. So we're going to have a brief warm up this evening. I'm going to put a bit more light on me. Hopefully that's a bit clearer for you. So, can you all hear the piano okay? Great. I'm just going to turn it up for me because I can't quite hear it. Okay, so we're going to begin with just a gentle hum. As we hum, I just like to think about the resonance in your hum. Just lovely and buzzy. Last one. Good, we're going to go down the scale and still thinking about that resonance, but to an oo vowel. Ooh, and just simply going down the scale. 3 and good. This time we're going to move from an oo to an ah. Ooh, ah, ooh, ah, ooh, ah, ooh. But what you'll find is our body naturally resonates in slightly different parts of the body, depending on what vowel we are singing. So why don't we try this as an exercise? I know it's the evening, but the exercise doesn't work with if we say good evening. So what I'd just like to do is place one hand on the chest around here, one hand on the back of the head, and in your most resonant, operatic kind of way, I'd just like to say, good afternoon. Good afternoon. As you do that, hopefully you can feel some resonance happening. You can feel some vibration going on. And with a bit of luck, you'll find that the resonance is shifting from one part of the body, from one hand to the other hand. So you try it once more and see if you can feel that shift. Good afternoon. Now, with a little bit of luck, you'll find that the R is resonating most intensely, the R in the chest and the ooh in the head. And so that means for us, ooh is a really good place to begin our warm-up. So when you're doing your personal warm-up before your singing session every day, and ooh is a really good place to begin with. But also, within what we sing, if we're singing an oo vowel, that closed vowel, our body is going to make that softer than an open R vowel. So in our exercise now, what I'd like to concentrate on is to see if you can get a consistent dynamic between the oo and the R. which will mean working harder at the oo and making sure the r tails away, and then hopefully the dynamic will be similar. So here's what I mean by that. Now, if I don't try and compensate for the different vowels, we'll end up with and it goes in the opposite direction, but I'd like them to remain consistent. So let's just try that together. Once more. Okay, good. So we might find there's a few of those moments this evening as we get into the piece. And we're going to start tonight with the second movement of the rutter. I'll share it on the screen. No, I have to start the share again, sorry. Okay. And we're going to begin but with bar 13. I'm really just thinking carefully about, there's an awful lot of black on the page here, with all the accidentals written in. And it's just to make sure we're really reading those carefully. And then also this I'll come to that in a moment. But let's just start with the sopranos and the tenors. If you wouldn't mind just making sure you're muted as we go, that'd be great. So sopranos and tenors have out of the deep have I called unto thee, O Lord. Let's sing together. Out of the deep have I called unto thee, O Lord. You'll notice Rutter's written in this crescendo through deep to mezzo piano for those for have I called unto thee, O Lord. In many ways, have I called unto thee, O Lord, is naturally going to be stronger as it just rises in our rises in register. But I think the crescendo there is a real indication of the legato line, as that thought process that actually we're thinking towards the end of the phrase rather than out of the deep have I, but out of the deep have I called. So let's, why don't we all sing that? I know altos and basses, you've got a different part, but nonetheless, just all sing that together in a moment as you just do this as an exercise. Out of the deep have I called unto thee, O Lord. Now, Bob Chilcott often speaks about spinning the sound. And that's to say, imagining that there's a ball balanced on your breath, and that is gently spinning as the breath's leaving your body. And the idea is, on this is a good example of this deep with the crescendo, that rather than thinking about trying to get stronger, that actually what we're thinking about is trying to get more breath flowing, so that this ball moves faster. So it's less about volume and more about the pace of the breath through our singing. So let's just imagine that ball's there. We're going to get it spinning through that crescendo. Out of the deep have I called unto thee, O Lord. Lord, hear my voice. of course, for tenors, then you move down to the E flat. At the same time, altos and basses, then, let's have a look at your actual part. 3 and out of the deep have I called. Let's do that once more. 3 and out of the deep have I called. Hear my voice. Okay, and you've noticed there, of course, that split with the away from unison singing for altos and basses towards the end there. Tenors, this moment at bar 17. Let's just sing that, and so we can be really careful about whether it's a tone or whether it's a semitone. But 17 and. And for a whole 6.5 beats. Okay, good. It's particularly that first G natural, to make sure it really is a full tone. There's hints of in it. If so, we just want to make sure that actually we go straight to the G natural. And then it goes down with your bond moment. Altos and basses, I don't need to say a lot to you there. So let's just try this from figure A together. I'll give you. Let's do it with the recording, and I'll give you hopefully a few bars in. I beg your pardon, wrong movement. Let's just try cue this up in the right place. Okay. Two, Now I'm just going to jump ahead a moment now. I'm going to look to bar 56. Here we are. Okay, let's sing together, sopranos only. O Israel. And one. O Israel, trust For with the Lord there is mercy, and with him is plenteous redemption. Okay, now on redemption, suddenly the redemption, and with him is plenteous redemption. The redemption feels dreadfully romantic. That fourth fall there, and I think it wants to have some sense of that. And with him is plenteous redemption, and he shall redeem Israel from all his sins, from all his sins. Okay, and it's almost like this wonderful moment at figure E where it's forte but sweet. Then on sins, to really pull away, it's like you're drinking the sound in and drawing the sound in, inviting the audience to kind of come closer as you reach sins. Okay. Altos, let's look at this same section. So for you, starting at bar 57. O he and one. O Israel, trust in the Lord. With the Lord there is mercy, and with him is plenteous redemption, and he shall redeem Israel from all his sins. Okay. And again for you, altos, as stopped as I was considering, and he shall redeem Israel from all his sins. Let's make sure notice the diminuendo isn't marked until sins. So let's make sure we arrive at sins still forte, and then the diminuendo begins just over 2 bars, taken from forte down to mezzo piano. So it's a good old diminuendo at that point. Tenors. And 1. O Israel, trust in the Lord. With the Lord there is mercy, and with him is plenteous redemption, and he shall redeem Israel from all his sins, all his sins. Thinking finally, basses, really concentrating on this, the journey the dynamics are taking us on. Oh, and 1. O Israel, trust in the Lord. With the Lord there is mercy, and with him is plenteous redemption, and he shall redeem Israel from all his sins, all his sins. Good, and really drink that sound in towards the end there. So let's go together, tutti, from 56 with the recording. This is a few bars before you're in. Okay, good. Lovely. They're the two moments I just wanted to pick up from last week. And now we're going to move into having a look at not very many bars of the Piaget. In fact, the final 4 bars. Because once we've learned the last four bars, we're in a fairly decent state for most of the pattern throughout. Let's just simply sing that together. So, Dona eis Domine, and good attention to the text as you sing. Dona eis Domine, sempiternam requiem. Now, it's such a beautiful movement. Now, my intention is, we'll have a look over some of these. It would be nice to sing through the whole thing, and then maybe sopranos or anybody else who might fancy it might like to join the treble solo for a moment. But just just notice here that 58, Dona, arriving on the downbeat, but previous to that, on the upbeat, going into bar 50, and similarly for the tenors and basses, though of course now reversed. So let's just be crystal clear. Let's just sing that bar. So that's bar 49. 1, 2. Dona eis Domine, Dona eis Domine, sempiternam requiem. Good, and just moving backwards then. You can see the same rhythmic feature going into bar 32. This is ever such a slight change to the final phrase. So going into 32, tenors and basses. 1, 2. Dona eis Domine, Dona eis Domine, Dona eis requiem. Good. And finally, now again beginning with the sopranos and altos. Let's read this straight away. 1, 2. Dona eis Domine, Dona eis Domine, Dona eis requiem, etc. Good. Now on my whistle-stop journey this evening, I'm going to leave that there for now. But if we get opportunity, I'm hoping we might be able to finish by having a sing of that together. But for now, though, let's look towards the Agnus Dei, which is the 5th movement. Looking at bar 26. Now, remember we looked at this last week. That lovely harmonic shifts in this, but we're going to do it straight away with the track. Okay, lovely, thank you. Just going back a moment then. Just this arriving on the first chord. Let's just sing the first chord just a couple of times. So I'm going to then just really good placement of this first chord. Okay, and once more. So you'll hear. Good. Now we're going to do the same thing now again with the track. So this is with the recording here. So it's running us into it. Good crescendo. And away. Good, we're going to carry on together. And okay, so just looking at this this section here, which is starting at bar 52. Just notice the journey we're going on, and Rutter really helpfully just marks out for us all the steps along the way. So beginning at bar 52, piano in the basses, piano in the tenors, then mezzo piano as the altos enter. Mezzo piano as the sopranos enter, and now crescendos marked. But this is a really good steady crescendo, just taking us bar by bar from mezzo piano to mezzo forte, still crescendo to forte at 57, and whom the crescendos marked through there as the horns really lead the way in the texture, arriving at figure D fortissimo. Now notice this fortissimo, having had a bar by bar build up in the preceding couple of bars, now this fortissimo lasts throughout the whole of those two bars. The diminuendo is only marked to begin at bar 60, So, of course, diminuendo being an instruction for the future. So we need to therefore arrive at the beginning of bar 60 still at the previous dynamic marking, so fortissimo and then away, but only down to forte, and then bar by bar we then drop a dynamic at times forte, mezzo forte here, then diminuendo is through to mezzo piano until eventually we hear the tenors and basses almost echo with their piano moment. So with those dynamics in mind, and really thinking about sustaining the dynamics as marked, and particularly on the way down, not to let the journey, it's very easy for particularly crescendos, we're very good at having a consistent growth. Often when a diminuendo is marked, we can end up falling away, and so our crescendo diminuendo might often look, for us to visualize it, look something like this. That's beautifully equal, and we get to the top, and then it drops right down and then shrinks away. But of course we want that diminuendo to be as equal on the way down as it is on the way up. So I'm just going to try and find a moment. Let's have a look if we can find it. There we go. Let's just have a little look at this final phrase. The clarity of text. Tenor movement. This is a personal preference, but and a very tiny thing, and a tiny thing which is slightly trickier to do over Zoom. But in terms of balance and the final chord, first basses, or the second basses of the three, I guess, first, second basses. On the B, if that note's good and resonant in that bottom chord, then actually the lower E will really ring, and particularly for those lower basses who are having a trickier job with the pianissimo low E, that'll just help give it a bit more body. Okay. We're going to go back now. I'm jumping around, I realise. We're going to go back now to movement 4, the Sanctus. Excuse me while it whizzes past your eyes. Okay, I realise I've done lots of little chunks this evening. So let's have a sing of this from the beginning all the way through, and we'll see how we go with it. Okay. Well, it's a radiant movement, isn't it? And requires radiant singing, particularly from sopranos, as you shine on your top Gs numerous times. But also requires others for the let's just find it. I'm sorry, jumping here. Figure B, basses, the most baritone tone here, really. So it's good lyrical singing. Pleni sunt celi gloria tua. I realise it's sitting high for any low basses, but perhaps the way to go is imagine you are a tenor and approach this in that tenory way, and that's to say, be already thinking about your top E when you begin singing. So have that note in place. Pleni sunt celi gloria tua. Of course, if we start in that lower gear, for the E, that's going to be sitting in the middle of your range quite happily. Pleni sunt celi. It's going to be really hard work as you approach the E. So think about it, heady and light, and then it will have a good lyrical tone to it. Sopranos, here looking into bar 28. don't let the upbeat have any hint of double dotting about it. Hosanna! Notice there's an accent on it, so there needs the only way we're going to be able to accent that is to allow enough space for the vowel to sound. So the H wants to be good and early. Hosanna! So we're really connecting the O on that semiquaver, and then we'll get close to the accent there, I hope. Similarly, tenors. Hosanna, Hosanna in excelsis, Hosanna in. So make sure the ho is weighted. Altos. Hosanna as you go into 32. Okay. Altos, you've got this kind of similar moment to the basses earlier on at figure A, where again you want to kind of think about being a soprano almost. Pleni sunt cieli gloria tua, as you sail above the sopranos at that moment. So already have in mind that top E and be in top gear to start with, rather than trying to crunch through the gears as you go. With that said, let's read again, shall we? So from the beginning of the movement. Thankfully, much of this is straightforward. But if anybody wants me to go over any other particular moments, do shout as we go. But trusting we're all happy, let's go for the beginning of this movement. Lyrical bases. Thank you all very much. Good. Well, we're going to now move to the seventh movement, seventh and final movement. I'm looking at bar 72. Here. Let's get the recording ready. Okay. In fact, we're going to sing. We'll sing it straight away together. I want to think about your good legato line through here. And watching out for those accidentals along the way. Tenors, where you have movement where there isn't where the other parts don't move. Let's just bring that out a little so we can enjoy those little shifts of harmony which you're introducing. So let's try and pick up at figure D if I can find that swiftly enough. We'll keep playing here. This is bar 56. Lots of string on the bow, but quiet. Here we go. Alto lead, the crescendo. Okay, right, I'm just going to stop and pause for a moment. So I'm sorry, I was talking over you, singing. But here, bar 74 and 75 tenors. Lovely, lovely lyrical phrase for you there. Altos, bar 76 and 77. For you, really lead the crescendo. It almost, you can go beyond the mezzo piano that you're aiming for at 78 and then just pull away as you arrive at 78. But we can really feel the journey of that crescendo leading us through. Let's just do the same moment again. Hopefully, let's see where I am as we play it. .54, 55. Sustaining the pianissimo. So wait for your crescendo, which comes now. Good. I'm sure Simon will for this diminuendo al niente, so disappearing away to nothing. Whether that's closing on the hum of the M, the end of ternam, or not, but I'm sure Simon will let you know that. Wonderful, good. Gosh, time flies when you're having fun, doesn't it? So let's finish off with this evening. I said if we have time, we'd have a look at the Pie Jesu, just that we've visited the whole of that movement. So that's the third movement. See if I can catch it as we it flies past. There we go. Okay. Feel free to join the treble solo as we just go through this together. But of course, just leave yourself enough time for your entry. And particularly just watch out for these the entries and making sure we're really clear whether it's arriving on the upbeat or whether it is arriving on the downbeat, particularly as it's only the final entry that does arrive on the downbeat itself. There's nothing worse than being that one person who comes in early. So let's sing this together. Lovely, great. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing your treble in this. What a moment that is for a young boy. Wonderful. Thanks, everybody, so much. It's been great to be with you again. I've enjoyed myself, but I hope it's been useful for you. And I look forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Matt.
Bye.
Okay, see you all next week.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
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 Everybody. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks.